If you don't know what this is, by the way, it's a performance tool. It's an instrument. It is something that just, oh, dude, it's so cool. It dives really deep into all the things that I want out of a sequencer, just because there are so many improvements to the groove, into the timing offset, into yeah, just different swingy rhythms and stuff on top of the harmonic and the, I guess, the data placement of what a typical sequencer would do. And that's the biggest appeal to me outside of its form factor. As you can see, plenty of space, or way more space on my desk now. I know that this is dark, but I did that on purpose so that way you could see the screen. But yeah, so right now this is hooked up to the... So yeah, let's go ahead and mess with this, and let's get a patch in here. And maybe what I can do is just make a quick bell, so that way, you know what I mean, it's not super boring to listen to. So I'm just going to build a resonator very quickly. It's also a bit quiet, so let me see if I can get this to be a little bit louder. There we go. We do have a lot of saturation that's going on that, but that's not really going to matter because this is just a means to an end to get something to interesting to listen to in here.
Recording to logbook.
Yo, thank you so much for the follow, whoever that was. Which, by the way, I have been loving the... just having a freaking synth on my desk. That has been so dope to just be like, you know what, I want to make a Reese now, and then just be like, bloop. It's so fucking cool to just have that ready to go. I would definitely recommend that everybody get at least one hardware synth. So I'm going to move over here now, and the first thing that we're going to take a look at is basically the scale mode, or the keyboard mode rather. And I haven't figured everything out about this, but if you wanted to lay this out, then you do have that. You can set, you know, change your bass with the octave. You can set the bend here. I don't really know what that does, to be honest. Oh, that's cool. You have a pitch bend that's kind of set up on that. That's pretty nice. You've got attack, which I can definitely hear that it does do that. So that's actually kind of sick. That's built into the MIDI, but I don't really understand how that works. You play chords. Hey there, how goes the new setup? It's been great, man. Absolutely awesome. So there's that. If we go into shift now, and we can go into a scale, we can pick what we want to do here. So now this is in Phrygian. We can pick a different root note. Looks like we can set rolls on this if we want to. Roll off. If you hold this button over here, which is the white, then you can set this to do that, but I don't know how to... Oh, okay, so you would hit play. Oh, okay, so there's different selections on here to where you can set the roll to be on or off. It's pretty sick. I'm gonna just turn that off for now. Something else that we can do is we can change the mode in here into chord. And so now this will play different chords. So the keyboard mode has shifted. That's chromatic, I think. Transpose. So let's change this to Phrygian D sharp. We'll go back into the keyboard mode here and hit stop. And this is cool because this also shows you what chords these are. And I think that we've got different modifiers on here. Okay, so this turns the modifiers on, but we have two different banks, kind of like the Mark 1. Different inversions. And to make this a little bit more obvious, what I'm going to do on this is go here. I'm going to turn this down for now. We're going to go to oscillator 2 and just pick a waveform into a sine. And now you can actually hear that a little bit better. We can spread this out, I believe. Although I'm trying to see how to actually do that. One thing that is new within this is that you can make your own chords. You can also make your own scales, and you can save them to the built-in SD card. And I haven't done that yet, but that's really cool. And I think that the way that you do that is by using the app, if I'm not mistaken, which that's actually a huge improvement as well, because back then the app on this was relatively basic. But now within this, you can see you have projects, templates, instruments. I think that these are instrument definitions. You have custom grooves, custom scales, and you can import MIDI onto this as well as update the firmware. So that's a lot. That is a lot to think about. All right, so let's get out of this. We're going to go back into the mono mode. So I'm going to click on this, and instead of the chord mode, we'll just go back to poly, and we can... We've got a arpeggiator here now, and we need to hit play for that. We can also change the accent, which is kind of nice. We can set the pulses, we can set the length, we can set the divisions on here. So if we want to make it a little bit slower. That's dope. My buddy Zayaku would have fucking lost his shit from that. Let's see. Also, if we hold shift, or maybe if I hit this twice, hold, shift. There's a second page here, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to that. Major, minor. Ooh, that's dope. We can turn this on. Why am I not recording this? Don't crash. Thank you. Pretty sick. This is in conjunction with the Zoya pedal, but even still. can hit something like flow, I believe. And we can change the time and the groove and the offset of this, which is really cool. There's a groove selector on here, and like I said, you can have custom ones built into this. But we can also change the accent. We can randomize the groove just a bit. Let's see if I can make this a little bit more... Randomize this a bit? What? And so I think that this is latching, if I'm not mistaken. Length. There we go. And yeah, this is kind of sick. Babe. Corey's over here just like giving me smart ass remarks on everything. I know. Yeah, we probably should, but maybe a stronger toy, something that is not necessarily like a Kong, but something that she could fuck up. But yeah, so there's that. I'm curious, maybe the because I don't think that the arpeggiator necessarily works with the flow, but maybe if we were to set our own pattern on here, kind of like so, then we could. Well, that was cool. Okay. Nice. You can change the octave of this. Sick. Now on the groove, I'm wondering if we have to turn this on. We can also change the swing on this too. There we go. Now I can hear that. So now we can kind of change that into having its own set of grooves and that we can set to, which is really nice. Let's see, we've got CC mods here. CVN. And then with this, we can do our classic thing to where we can change the direction of this. It's got drunk, it's got cross. You can also set the division percentage. And then on the generate tab, we can also do other things here, which this looks like the Euclidean sequencer, if I'm not mistaken. CV gate assign. But if we hold this and then we go generate, let me see, there should be a way that we can... Okay, so we have offset here. We have duration. We have glide. We can also set our repetitions and things with, it looks like this is exponential rhythms, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. And then let me go to the track and set the direction back to normal. And I want to see what this does. Yeah. So you can have cool... Yeah, top riff first try, right? Just nailed that one. Let's put a delay on this. That's pretty dope. Okay, the offset goes up to 45% forward and backward. And then, of course, we can change the division of this by how fast this plays. Because right now this is at 1/8, so we can, I think, go... gate repetition. We can either do step global. So there's a global offset, there's global this. We go track. We change the division to... this. We can do that. Nice. We can also send this and do some other cool stuff by hitting the mute button and then sending this into... Now it's in mono, but now this is being sent... Oh, you can't see it, but this is being sent into the microcosm. So let's see what that does. Getting a little bit of clipping, sorry. We can record this. We can hit stop on this, and then we can actually move this over here and replay. Slow this down a bit. All this stuff has been really cool, so I'm going to take all of that. Let's go ahead and throw a fuse compressor on this. And a clipper. Sorry, let me switch back over here so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry guys, I'm still pretty bad about that, about like switching over to my workflow stations. So if I'm doing something, please feel free to be like, yo, switch it so I can see what you're doing. Switch this into a different mode. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a gate. Pretty cool, man. Lots of really neat things on this. Let's go ahead and bounce back to this. So what I can do is just hit save, project save. We can do that. We can just kind of save that, and then we can try a different pattern or something, right? So we can go to pattern 2, pattern saved, and then we can go to load pattern 2, And so now we should be on the second pattern here, which I think that's where we are. There we go. So now we can do a new pattern. We can try some of the generative modes. Although, performance. Oh, this is the new performance mode that we should definitely check out. Shift generate. Shift generate. Well, okay. So there's a thing here now that has these different options that when you click on the encoder, it goes to the second option. But I'm not super sure. Is clipping really necessary on a bell sound? Well, it's running through the analog heat, and it's also going through some of the other external stuff. So I turned it back down.
Recording to logbook.
Yo, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. So let me figure out how to actually generate this thing. CV gate assign. Generate. This is the Euclidean thing. What is this? Repeat, 100%. Are these steps? Density. There we go. What happens if I hit generate? No. Yes. Oh, is this doing the thing? Okay, sick. Hey, Dave. I'm sorry, I thought I addressed you from before when you were telling me about your concert. So part of the reason why it's hissing right now is because it's going through the heat, and the heat has an OTT over it. If it gets annoying, I can turn it off, but I just kind of wanted to pull that out a little bit more. So we can do that if you like. Let's see what this does. I'd have to watch this again and see what this is supposed to be doing because I don't quite remember. So this is fill. Fill, fill, fill. This is looped. Not sure what this is doing, to be honest. Okay, you got some quantization options if you hit Shift in Project. Let's add some groove. Pull back off of this, it's a little bit resonant. Let's introduce a kernel. Do I think more highly of this than the other controllers? I will have an official comparison video as soon as I learn everything that this does. At the very beginning, I did say that if you can afford it, I definitely think that this is a major upgrade compared to the first to the Mark 1, which we still have here. But in between a Hapax and this, I don't know. I feel like they fit different use cases. Though I will say that this is the newest one, and it has the most features, you know. But it's also a 2025 device compared to a 2022 device, and I think that a lot of stuff that's in the Hapax, still has a lot of room that, like, all of the things that are mentioned on here could be implemented within the Hapax, and I just don't know if they would, you know, I don't know where everybody's at on that. You know what I mean? If I had to do like a quick and dirty breakdown, if you want a bigger device that has more polyphonic sequencers, you're still going to be better off using the Hapax. If you want the 2 screens and the piano roll and all of those features, the Hapax is still probably your go-to choice. However, this has some really cool performance features. I think that this has better control over the offset and the groove timings and whatnot. I think that the Hapax is easier to navigate though, because everything has its own dedicated button, whereas everything here is kind of confined to this space. And so you kind of have to get used to navigating. For example, like if I wanted to change the page, this, and I wanted to look at the transposition of this, then I have to go here, and this row indicates like the root note. And so I have to navigate where to place these things if I want to like have certain notes go higher and lower, as opposed to not just transposing everything, if that makes sense. This is kind of like, it's not a big deal, but it is something that I think is really important to consider versus the workflow of the Hapax, because the Hapax, you just jump everything, or you go page up, you put whatever you want, you can go page down, and it's way more immediately accessible. Does that make sense? And I think that's actually a big factor, or like a big distinguishing thing between the workflow of these. And yeah, again, I'm not ready to compare yet. I have this list of shit that I have been going through. So like, this is everything that I've written down that the Oxy 1 has. This is everything I've written down that the Oxy 2 has, both pros and cons. This is both. Right now I'm working on the Oxy 2 stuff, and it's a lot. And actually I need to write down another feature, which is project queuing, which I don't think that the Oxy 1 I don't think that the Mark 1 can do that, but something that I learned is that if you go into load, like let's say this is hitting play, right? Hold on. Let me save this pattern. Pattern project saved. Okay. So look, if I load another project, check this out. Project queue, and then it will load the next one. Like, I've never seen that before. That's really cool. So that way it actually doesn't, like, you can use that as a performance tool to where you're like, okay, we're going to segment into a new song now, or something of the sort. And that's pretty dope. Everything has a song mode and arrangement mode. Let me go back to the track. I'm gonna make this a little bit slower. And so what else is new about this? I need to figure out what this does, because I don't know how this works. Is this like step skip? Yeah, I need to figure out how the performance mode works. And then one other thing with this is, again, I think that the Euclidean thing on here is kind of a different approach, but I need to figure out how to just be like, generate a thing. So cool so far. Dude, I come over to your crib. It's like Guitar Center over there. Come by. I told you already can. This is the Oxy One Mark II. It's an upgrade from the Oxy One Mark One, which is this guy, which I've got a lot of videos on already. Yeah, I've pretty much got like a full production studio now. Sorry, Ijiro, I didn't answer your question. Honestly, like 90% of my music making is here on stream. So like just about every song I've made in the last 6 years has been on stream. There's maybe like 5 that I haven't written on camera or that I haven't written on a live setting. But that's just kind of what I do here. This is my show, and that's kind of part of it. There's also this thing that says track following. I don't know what that does. There is that. And then something else, if you haven't seen the Mark 1 before, let me go to a new pattern here. With this guy, if we set this to, actually, yeah, that's fine. We'll go here. If we set this sequencer now to this guy and we change the mode to poly, and then on sequencer, wait, we go to sequencer 1 and then we set this to harmon. What this will do is this will actually harmonize with sequencer 3. So if we set this guy to, let's go Phrygian D sharp 2, and let's just set a pattern on here. And I need to make sure that, okay, this is on 3A, so we need to set this to 1A as well. Now, if we go here to this one, on this sequencer, this says harmony sequencer 4, 3. We need to set this to sequencer 3. And this will harmonize with this. Now on sequencer 3, I'm also going to set this to go a little bit slower. And so now these are playing off of each other. Well, not playing off of each other, but sequencer 1 is following whatever sequencer 3 is. So if I decide to change the key of this, this is following now, whatever this is. And so I don't have to set this up. Let's go ahead and mute this track. You can see now that this isn't playing anything. I guess it is. But what we'll do is we'll set this to chord mode. So this one is now going to follow sequencer 4. S4. This is in chromatic. Let's set that back to Locrian D sharp 2. And this one is going to be in chord mode. And so now what we can do is we can make a chord with this. We also need to set this to 1A, so that way it's playing in the same one. All right, that's a little bit crazy. So give me 1 second. We're going to mute this very quickly. We're going to go back here, and then on the chord mode, this is still in chromatic, so we need to set this to, let's go back to that Locrian. And then I would like to change the track to like 1/8. There we go. So now when we reintroduce this, this is going to have a melody that will follow along to the chord. Isn't that fucking sick? I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's try a different scale. And so I want to explore in private. You rock. Thanks, man. That's fucking awesome. Let's maybe go ahead and change some of the stuff on here so that way I don't bore you all with the sounds. So what I'll do is we'll come in here. I'm going to go to keyboard mode again. And let's do a new kind of timbre, perhaps. We're in kernels. Sorry, you can't see this, but give me just like 2 seconds to design something quickly, okay? Also, I'm going to go to the effects here and turn the reverb off. Turn that off. Then I am going to go presets, default, close, edit. I'm going to go into mod. We're going to mod this from this. I'm going to wave. Set this here. Set the ratio to 2. Something else that we can do is maybe give this a little bit of unison, to which once we play this, we're going to start to lose voices because of voice stealing. This has 12 voices built into it, the synthesizer itself, so that is a factor, but still, it should still do something that's cool. Yeah. There we go. So we can try a different chord progression now. So we can go like a 2, 5. I'm gonna mute that for a sec. Just kind of listen to what this is doing. Interesting chords. Not really chords that I would normally use, but it's still kind of fun to just fuck around and do some cool stuff. Let's go here, and then let's go back to the home on that. And then I think that one of these had, yeah, so one of these had that arpeggiator on, and I was just trying to take that back off because I didn't want to. melodic, Phrygian, Dorian, minor, major. So it looks like when it comes into the chord modes, you've only got a selection of different, yeah, you only have a handful of different modes here, which I would like to see a little bit more. Like I would like to see the scales match the chord mode, because you have chromatic, major, minor, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Locrian, pentatonic major, pentatonic minor, harmonic minor, and melodic. And then after that, that's like the only chord stuff that you have. But even still, you know, I wonder if we hit mod, is there a second mod button? LFO, that's what I was looking for. So there's still 2 LFOs. You can set them to a single destination. Pitch bend, division, modulation, glide time, keyboard ARP division, chord type, chord spread, chord voicing. So you can modulate the chord type. So this is kind of cool because you can set this on here to, I think this is what this is. Chord voicing. And oh, do you have 2 destinations? Or is this MIDI destination? Set the amount on here to change and alternate between different modes. So let's see if this will actually play different types of chords based off of what this is. I'm just going to set this to sample and hold. Ramp, fall. Is there still smooth random? Wave 1, wave 2, wave 14. What does that mean? I think noise is smooth random, if I'm not mistaken. We can set the retrigger to off and set this to 1 bar. Let's see what that does. I'm going to try to move this back to see if this changes. So it looks like maybe that's not LFO, because maybe the voicing is the different, I think chord type is what, well, is there a way to change the chord scale? Because that would be sick. Chord root, strum, ARP division, octave. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's available or not, but that would be cool. I'll have to ask in the Discord. Ooh. Interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that those chords that are playing are not just different chords. I think that it's changing the mode, but I don't actually have an ear to be able to tell whether or not that's doing that, but I'll confirm whether or not you can change if sorry, the chord mode, wait, what is it called? The chord type changes that, because I would imagine that chord voicing means your inversions and all that other stuff, but if it's chord type, maybe. I don't know. That's still pretty interesting though, no? LFO1. And then let's pull the amount back to off. We can hold this and change the step submenu. What does RNG mean? You can move that up and down 7 semitones. You can set this to repeat. But I'm curious as to, oops. Stop. Okay, so that's how, if you hold this and then you hit shift, this is how you can move this in between the octave. There we go. Sorry, I know that's kind of annoying, but also trying to see, repeat says 100%, the offset is here, but trigger, there's the chance. Okay, so yeah, everything is a little bit moved around. Bro got all the bleep bloops. Yeah, man, this is what we do here. We go bleepy bloopy bloopity bloop. I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna mute this. And then on this guy, we'll go back here to 1. And we'll set this back to Phrygian. Set that back to D sharp 3. Go back to the kernels here and try to use a softer sound. That's dope. What's up, Nate? Still trying to figure out how to get more strings out of this as opposed to just, what's it called? As opposed to just bells. There's a way to do it, but I think that I have to actually set attack, more attack on this, and maybe something like that. So let's try that. Reset bank, off, color. Cool. Okay. So let's go to another pattern now. I'll just save pattern 3. Oh shit. I think I could, did that undo? There we go. Hit save. Okay, so now we've got some different patterns on here. We'll go to pattern 4. And this is kind of cool, you know, because I'm just like creating different patterns and just fucking with different shit and saving all of the work that we put into this. So that way, if we want to come back to it, it's kind of already available. Yeah, so now kind of do a similar thing, but what was I going to do? Yeah, we're going to go just straight into the generation thing now. And so I don't know what this means. ELNV. But what I wanted to also see was if I go to this, do I go generate? Oh, maybe it just does it in real time. Oh, interesting. Maybe it's Euclidean length, pulses. What does NTE mean? I have no idea. Because this looks like it's just doing the Euclidean thing. Oh, here it is. Random perform. Ah, okay. Random generator. That's what we were looking for. So, all right. So the gen is the Euclidean sequencer. This is something that you can just generate different shit with. Ah, okay. So we can do that. We can change the percentage of the octave. And then we can go to 1% repetition. Oops. We can have a percentage here based off of the octave. We can set the trigger percentage off of this. And then we can go, yeah, it would be nice. Well, it might actually do it, but we'll see. But if we go like this, random generator, density, scale. Wait, what did I just do? Oh, this is the perform. Okay. Fuck. Sorry, guys. So this is still the same because this is what I used to do a lot is I would just be like, okay, hit the percentage. But this is something that is alive and playing in real time. Whereas if you hit shift in random, this is the random generator. Okay. So now if we hit that, now we've got something different here. But I'm curious. Mod, gen, density. That's the generator. Flow, flow, flow. What is just the flow button? The flow button on its own so far hasn't really done anything. I'm hitting the scale thing and seeing what that does. And this is also not doing anything as of yet. So can I go to shift clear? Let's shift generate something again. That's not working. Is it muted? New. Okay, what did I just do? Did I just break this? Control Z. Well, Control Z isn't. There is an undo button on here, but it's not. What's it called? Or is it just so high maybe that. Okay, so it's not that this is broken. I just don't know why this didn't. Glide, repetition, shift. Okay, so all the triggers on here are at 100%. Perform. Gen. LFO. Page. Expand. Undo, undo, undo. Sorry, guys. Oh, expand, condense. Okay. Step global. There's your offset. Only in chord mode. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why this isn't doing anything, but again, if I hit clear, and then we go to that, and then we go random generation, and then we set the density to whatever. This is definitely doing, well, the patterns in here are there, but I don't know why this isn't playing. What happened here? Why is this not doing the thing? Okay, well, let's mute this, and then let's try this one. See if that's going to do the thing. Let's go minor, D sharp 2. Sorry, this is my first look at all this stuff, so I'm just trying to figure this out and be like, all right, what's going on here? Let's go this way. Density. Okay, that works. changing the groove on this. Oh, you just watched the OPX4 video? Yeah, I no longer have an NPC, but I did at least want to cover how to do things that I would normally do in a DAW or whatever on that. And that's just kind of been the exploration aspect of it, is like first just learning how to do everything and then being like, okay, now how do I do this in my other gear? I'm noticing that on this, there's a little camera icon. So I'm wondering if, is that a snapshot or what is that? And how do I get to that? There's also this like shuffle thing on here. What does that mean? I'm going to guess that there is some kind of snapshot button on here because that's probably what that indicates. But at the same time, I don't know how to access that, so I'd have to figure that out. Oh, that's cool. You can just change the sync to whatever this is. MIDI, clock, internal, USB. Oh, that's sick. So that's super convenient because normally you'd have to go back into the config to figure that out. Totally going to ask if I still had one because I haven't seen him use one in forever. Yeah, I figured. But the thing that I'm hoping that people kind of get is that I guess like part of this musical sound design journey and stuff has been more so about here's where all the information overlaps as opposed to this one thing, right? You need this one synth or you need this one trick or this one magical device is going to do something completely unique. I do think that I do kind of wish that I still had access to an NPC. Actually, I could probably tell Brian to bring one over so I could go back and revisit some drum stuff that I've learned. Because I was just figuring out how to make better drums and just figuring out how to do like more interesting and cool stuff when I was on that whole process. And now I'm kind of in a completely different ball game. But that being said, I don't want to buy one. I don't know. There's a new NPC that's coming out pretty soon, right? If I'm not mistaken. And that's part of the reason why I ended up letting it go. I think that like the NPC wants to do everything, but it just doesn't it just doesn't hold its quality for what I wanted to make. It's like it wants to be a DAW, but it's held back by like small shit, like it's RAM. You know what I mean? Like it's RAM or like four insert effects, you know, I guess technically you can have 8 if you do the routing thing or whatever, but that was a pain to set up. Um, some of the modulation was also a pain to set up for a sound design thing. I do like that it has internal sampling and whatever, but what I ended up going with after that was I actually bought Electron devices. So that was like my immediate step over, because what I figured was, for the most part, I'll just do my sound design in the DAW, I'll get it all to samples, and then I can just use a separate workstation here for this. And then as far as a synthesizer goes, this is a recent purchase. So this is after years and years and years of me having other shit, right? Because I didn't buy everything at once, but I was like, you know what? Actually having a synthesizer that can do the same thing of its own internal resampling was a good move for me. So what I ended up with was, what is all the gear that I have now? Yeah, it's kind of what you see. Actually, there is one other piece that I have, which is the, oh my gosh, what is it called? The Embodme Array Mark 1. I do have an Asus or Alesis, whatever, keyboard that Zayaku gave me, which thank you, Zayaku. But as far as what's on my desk, there is the Iridium core. There's a microcosm. I'm using the Connect 4 or the Bitwig Connect as my interface. This is the Zoya, because this is a multi-effect pedal that's in stereo. Oxy 1 sequencer, either Mark 1 or Mark 2, which is also right here. The reason why we're doing this is because Oxy was actually kind enough to send me one of these. The Hapax is on a shelf right now. I'm not sure if they're going to let me keep that or not, but they sent me one of those. There's a Digitac 2, an Analog Heat Plus Effects, and then I have a Digitone 2 in repair because the connector was loose, which I actually haven't heard an update from them in a long time, and I hope that they didn't just steal my shit. I also had to pay for shipping, which kind of sucks. With that being said, though, the very first, like, that's not true. I've gone through quite a few devices now that I think about it, of different sequencers, different like groove boxes and all that other stuff. And for me, oh, I also have an iPad. iPad is still probably number one for like portable sound design, portable whatever. Patterning 3 is the dopest, is the dopest iOS device I've ever used, especially for drums and the kinds of drums and shit that I make. But as far as like a hardware device that's dedicated, so far the best purchase that I've ever made was the Oxy 1 Mark 1. That has definitely become a staple, and that's kind of like opened my eyes to sequencing in general. And the thing is like the Mark 2 is definitely an upgrade. Between this and the Hapax, there is so much overlap that you can't really go wrong. But I would say like, hey, if you're somebody that's not like, how would I say this? If you don't start at the keyboard and you don't like, and you're not super musically inclined, to which I know scales, I know whatever, the sequencers are probably my go-to. I've looked at them. I didn't order one, but I was looking at them. So I looked at the Torso. I also looked at the Tasty Chips. I ended up going with the Iridium Core because this also does granular. It also does all of the other stuff. But I've only heard good things from the Torso, and it is definitely an interesting thing to check in mind. I don't know what the difference is. Thanks for catching me up. Very insightful. Yeah, and I can only give you my recommendations, right? And I know that a lot of people are going to ask me if you should get the Oxy 1 versus the Hapax or the Mark 1. I will have a comparison video out, but I'm not ready to do that yet. What I will say is that no matter what you buy, with what fits your budget and what fits your needs, say you need something portable versus you want a bigger, device with 2 screens that has a visible piano roll, you really can't go wrong with any of them. And regardless of if you buy any one of these or not, makes no impact of me. These are just like my candid thoughts of my experience with using them. But yeah, that's probably going to be the biggest factors that go into play. Is the Hapax is still more expensive, but I think that playing keys on it and stuff. Hapax, Hapax. So I just uploaded a review on that. I have a first look that covers all of the, like, every feature. And then I've also got some sound demos to where I'm doing stuff like this, to where I'm just doing like exploration, right? Where I have some kind of synthesizer and different effects, and I'm just kind of doing like 1 hour, 2 hour sound design things with basses and all that other shit, which is really fun. Also some drum stuff. But yeah, I'm really just trying to like give somebody all of the information and all of the stuff that they would want to know to help them make a more informed decision. Because that's what I wish I had. You know, obviously the thing with hardware is that you can't demo it. You can't really just go somewhere unless if they sell it at Guitar Center and be like, hey, do you all have one of these? Can I play with it? You know, can I see what this does? You kind of have to take my word for it. The Hapax is not portable. You can power it with a USB device if you have the adapter, but I think that it takes a 9-volt cable. So that is a consideration. So where something like the Oxy One has a battery, it also has Bluetooth. The form factor of it is also substantially smaller. So that is a consideration. I think that the Hapax is better suited to be like your brain, you know, your home centerpiece. And for people that make shit like techno, or I would say like conventional electronic genres, the Hapax is probably a good choice. But yeah, as far as like the unique features and things that it has, it's almost like just a workflow preference. To me, it feels like the difference between Ableton and Bitwig. You know what I mean? It's like you can't go wrong with either one, but they have just some like minor design choices that influence what your outcome would be on whether or not you would be happy. But I guarantee if you have both in the same studio, then your complaints are going to be like this big, because they all three of them work so well in doing the main tasks that most people use this kind of shit for. You know what I mean? And if we're being frank, most people that I know that use a sequencer, sans a couple of outliers, you know what I mean, are the type of people that like put a kick on every fourth and then get into like super fast sequencing. So they'll be like, you know, let's do this, 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 and then they just go and then they like do a jam or whatever. And for that use case, like I said, like you're fine. If you have Bitwig, you could just use Stepwise. But the things that check the boxes for me for sequencers in general, especially for what I like doing, is per step offset. That's like the number one thing that I care about. Even if it was chromatic, per step offset for creating grooves and stuff is my biggest thing. And all of those devices have something like that. Which kind of gets me into something else. Does anybody actually have any questions about any of these three sequencers? I guess you could also ask me questions about the Digitact or the Electron devices too. I don't know if I would be able to fit, because I'm not going to edit this video, by the way, just so you all know. It's going to be kind of a one-off, but I don't know if my brain can handle comparing 4 different sequencers in one single video. But I suppose I could do comparisons in between two. But yeah, I would definitely leave out the sampling aspect. Yeah, that's not the question for me. And that's the one that I'm reluctant to answer, because I don't know. Yeah, I know that's the thing of like which one to buy, but I would say do your research as much as possible and look up the key features about what is unique to the devices to which I will be providing you with. I have an extensive list of everything that I've realized of what this does, each of these devices anyways, that are unique. And some of these I think that I'm actually incorrect on. But here is, if you want to screenshot this, here is everything I know, both that have the pros and cons. Actually, this doesn't have the cons yet. I would just say whatever cons are on the Oxy One.
Recording to logbook.
Let me space this out, that you can kind of just take as a glance. Yo, Blues Guy, thank you so much for subscribing. yeah, but this is everything that I've written down that I think is unique and also the same. So these are the features of the Oxy One. These are the cons of the Oxy One. These are the features of the Hay Packs. Um, these are the cons. This is what everything has together. Like this is what all of them share, and then this is what the features are that I found within the Oxy 2. So there you go. This list is going to be updated, but this is just everything that I have as of now. So as you can see, there's a lot of research that has been going into this. But I mean, from a fun factor and from like a, hey, I need something to generate ideas, like it, I would take any of them, and be happy. I was really excited about the Mark II because I purchased the Mark One though. You know what I mean? And whenever something comes out that I really like that comes out with an upgrade, like of course I'm gonna be like, ah shit, I want to try that out. Um, but you know, even if Manuel, which thank you again, Oxy Instruments, Manuel, he's the head over there that does that stuff. Even if he didn't send me one, I'd still probably want to purchase one. I'd still want the upgrade, because I think that the updated features and stuff are worth it. Um, yeah, I would also say like one major key player with the differences between this one and the other one is that this has 8 multi-step um 8 multi-step or 8 polyphonic sequencers built into it. If you go into multi-mode, then you can have 64, but the thing is that when you're in multi-mode, each independent sequencer is monophonic. With the Hay Packs, you have 2 project files that you can run at the same time, and each one of those has 16 polyphonic step sequencers that can act independently. So there's still more that you can run with the Hay Packs. Does that make sense? Because I feel like I just said a bunch of shit that might be confusing. Not as many polyphonic sequencers in either Oxy One. Way more. 32 between 2 different projects that you have with the Hay Packs. I can't see a world where somebody like me needs to do that, but I can see if you're doing something that's performance based. I can see if you're somebody that like really just loves to live inside of MIDI, how that could be useful. But for me, in my particular use case, I usually use only 1 or 2 sequences, and I'm using this as a means to sample. So I'm trying to get cool melodies in here and then trying to change the timbres of whatever is going on. Then I'll sample that and get everything into audio at the end of the day anyways. You know what I mean? To which, something that could be cool that we might want to try is, let me turn this off for now, and then we'll go to sequencer 6. 7. And let me go here. We're going to send this to channel 1 and set this to USB. And I'm going to set this to multi-mode here. There we go, multi-mode. That's already on there, which is nice. And so what we can do is set this to C1, maybe. There we go. And is that C1 or C minus 1? Yeah, okay. So we'll set that to C1. And so we can actually do something like a drum groove or something in this to do that. Well, one thing that I want to make sure that we're doing correctly, though, is we need to make sure that this is actually sending data. So this is set to USB now. But that's not playing. So what we need to do in this is we need to go into the files here, go into the settings, and then go into synchronization, set port 1 and port 2 to the MIDI clock, and see if this is going to run. Okay, yeah, so we're getting data now. Dope. Or wait, is this multi? Can you just play like a bunch of notes on this based off of the selection that you have? Because I thought that, I mean, that would be a huge difference. So I might be incorrect with that, but I thought that these were just monophonic. Well, let's find out. Let's get phase plant in here first. I'm going to set this to, yeah, whatever. We'll call it C minor. And okay, it is playing. Oh, wow. So yeah, this is this in multi-mode though? It is in multi-mode. So if we hold this down, or maybe it's not. Maybe this is, yeah, because these are different tracks. So you can play the different tracks at the same time, but this is all meant to be different shit. Different outputs. So that's kind of confusing to where it technically is polyphonic, but it's also not. Interesting. Transpose, color, track swing. Could I do something on here where step 16, track 3? All right, so if I hold this one, because I was hoping that if I set this track and while we're working on this, if I could make this, like do this and then a separate thing comes up where I can have that, like a different track on here. But I think that whenever you have a track on here, it is still monophonic. Yeah, it's D3. So yeah, you can't have chords on this. Okay, so I was correct. This is still monophonic. Sorry. But what we can do is we can set something on here to where, sorry about that, guys. We can grab a drum rack, drum groove, drum dizzle, drum machine. We'll go to this and we'll go into new drums organized. And I just put up a video of this on how to do this in the Hey Packs. But what I set up is a template to where there is an instrument selector in between all of these. And we can use this to change in between. So if I hit play on this, on that's C3, we want C1. And I type that in, kick, something like that. Why is there no C sharp? Oh, because that's in minor. So we can copy this, paste it. Okay, so now with this, this is not triggering. Trigger 100%. There's an off step here. So why is that not triggering? So something that would be cool is if I could highlight all of this for this track and then set the offset on this. And that's kind of one thing that I think is important to consider with what are the sounds coming from? The plugin, the Oxy. Right now, this is coming from just the drum rack. But from before, it was the hay packs coming in. So I'm not too sure why we're not getting the hi-hat. This is actually a clap or a snare thing that we're working with. But within this track 3, is there a way to change the offset of this? Track 3, offset, channel 1A, step, track 3, offset, track 4? Is this going to be everything? Okay. Is this playing the other stuff? Okay, so that's what I'm a little bit confused on because some of these are triggering and some of these aren't. So these are 16 velocities. But what are these? Note range C1. C1. Yeah, I don't know what these are. Does this mean active, perhaps? Active tracks? Is that what's going on here? Ah, so those tracks weren't active. So you would go into the keyboard mode here, because if I turn all of these off, I think that this means track mute. Yeah, okay, so that's why. Okay, so that's how we get that going. And I'm curious, if we go mod and we set this up with mod W, CC2, I think that what we can do is we can go MIDI learn on here. Are there any other CC controls that are on this? CC3. So I guess we can just map mod wheel to the same thing. But something that is interesting that we can do is just like the hay packs, we can come into this and just do this. Check this out. So we go boop, 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 boop. Go here, go boop. Oops, undo. Set this to C5. 6, 7, 8. And because there's only 4 encoders on here, then we could still modulate in between these. But what that means is that we've set this up to the selectors now, to where, let's say I want to change the kick. Let me just go back to the keyboard mode here and focus on that. So check this out. Let's just say we play the kick. We can go to mod. Oh, sorry, that's the hat selector, my bad. Yeah, we can change this now, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that's kind of how we... Go back to mod. Change this. So, you know, we can kind of create a pretty easy drum groove on that. Sorry, I should have switched back over to that. But what we're doing is we're controlling the CCs on this now. And this is the exact same thing that I did with the hay packs, to where you can mod that to be able to use this more as a MIDI controller while you sequence. But I think that the one thing that's important to realize about this is that there's a couple of menus to dive through. I guess not, because that would kind of be the same thing with the hay packs. It's just that you have to toggle in between because you only have 4 encoders instead of 8. To which these are also step encoders. I don't really know how I feel about that. The hay packs has step encoders as well. I'm more of somebody that likes the seamless ones personally, but I guess that in something like this, the tactile feel can be kind of important, I guess. But yeah, what's also interesting on this though is that it looks like you can use... Oh shit. So you basically have automation on this. So let's say I wanted to diversify the values on here. Oh, and you can set defined, I think. Can you set defined values on this? Oh my God, you can. That's insane. Okay, so you basically have automation on here with this. It's not quite as robust as the hay packs, but that's another thing to consider as well, is that the hay packs literally has automation that you can like build curves into and stuff. But if we go back to the control of mod 6 or mod 2, you can see that our automation lanes are here as well. But you can see that on each step, we can set different values. So we essentially have parameter locking on here now as well. That's kind of cool. And I actually think that this is easier to program than the automation. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm also curious as to if this automation steps and stuff, like, I don't know if that would even need to be important or whatever, but the timing aspect of that, but that's fucking cool. Let me set that up, because I don't know if the Oxy 1 Mark 1 has that. But I need to write that down. Mod parameter locking. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now, I'm curious, if you just hit the flow button with like nothing selected, what does that do? What does the flow button do if it's just flow on its own? Let me see here. Assign and trigger punch in, punch out fill events. Okay, so I'm guessing that if you hold the flow button and you put steps in, then maybe that's your fill. So let me see if I put some notes in this. Yeah, these are different colored, so. Yeah, okay, so that's what that is. Maybe. Is it going to do it without it? Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, okay. So you see how these are different colored? Okay, so that's what that is. That's a fill button. Still pretty cool. There's the Euclidean thing here. Now, what does this performance mode do again? Let me see if this is built into the manual. Multi-track, matricial. We haven't taken a look at the matricial stuff yet, but I think that with the matricial mode, there's now step offset, which is pretty cool. So we'll take a look at that in just a second, but let me see if there's a thing on the performance knob here. Opens the performance view page. To access the project settings. All right, I'm gonna have to look at URA to see what this does again, because I'm not quite sure. This thing does a lot, man. I'm still like, I'm still going through and figuring out all this shit that this thing does. Arranger launch quantization, global quantization, arranger master sequence. Okay, that's just there. All right, what does this do again? Because when I saw what this was doing, whenever URA was messing with it, it looked incredible. But I don't remember what it was. So, step looper, fill, 75%. What is this? What are these? Is this a pattern launcher? Or maybe this is a step mute, so. Okay, these are track loops. Okay, so this is each track loop on here. I loop. But what are each of these? And what is this red thing? And why doesn't it toggle on or off? All right, so this is track muting. These are track mutes. These are track fills. These are loops. Loop step, loop 4-step, 3-step, 2-step, 1-step. So maybe this is what this means. So we'd go here and hit that. Is that what that does? Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. It seems like once we kind of have all this figured out, then there's that. But I still don't understand the differences between this, and I also don't know what this red thing means or what. Oh, okay. So maybe this is setting a different step amount on this. So maybe this is a loop amount or something like that, or stopping it here. So maybe if I did this on track 1, which is maybe what this is. Okay, I don't know what this means, but this looks like a stop thing, perhaps. Is this like a track thing? No idea. What does this do? Nothing. My guess is that it's some kind of timing thing or whatever, because if it's all the way over here, it's red. This is the middle, and then this is a later thing. So I'm almost curious as if this is some kind of offset or some kind of placement of that. I don't actually know. I don't really know. But yeah, interesting. So yeah, I guess something that is kind of cool is you can kind of take all that stuff and jump in between the patterns and do all the things and have this routed independently behind all of this. And so it's kind of nice that this does all of that at once. Go output to TRS. So we can bring that back. Although it does seem like this is also going to this as well. So if I mute that. This should be playing now. Oh, right. For some reason, this wasn't working anymore, which I have no idea why. Did we do that on page 2? TRS. So we hit play. Go to the effects here and turn all this stuff off. Yeah, I mean, essentially you can set this up to where like you've got this on sequence 1 going into this, and then you've got, say, track 7 or track 8 going into, that was really cool, by the way. You've got track 8 going into the drums inside of that. If you have another sequencer thing like the Digitact, provided that you have the cable, actually you could probably even just do it over Overbridge, to be honest. Yeah, because you can set up a separate channel on this to send that out. So like, let's say, which by the way, there's a bug within Bitwig to where the, what's it called? To where the MIDI channel outs, at least as far as version 2, haven't been working for me. But yeah, I mean, because of this, we can do the MIDI data through this, the data cable. Because unfortunately, I don't think that there's a way to, I wouldn't know how to do that. Actually, I think that this can have USB MIDI, but I think that it has to be through the USB port to be plugged in from something else, if I'm not mistaken. And it's also USB female. So you would have to have a USB female to a USB female, if I'm not mistaken. I guess you could have USB-C, because that's what this is. Which That's another advantage of the Oxy One, is that this is pretty much just like USB cable, and then it's plugged in and it's ready to go. Whereas the Hapax has a power cable. Something to consider. But right now the Oxy One is going to everything, so I'm kind of just sending this out and doing the thing with it. But let's do that. Let's see if I can get this to set up. So I'll turn the Digitact on now. And you all know that this exists. So we'll kind of just pull this over and you can see that this exists. It's a thing. And let's pull this up to here. You run this through Overbridge. Okay. Yeah, for sure, dude. Thanks. Okay. Sorry, that's the last project that I had on there. It was pretty sick. In the market for a sequencer, I do think that if modular is not what you're going for, I do think that your top 3 choices are the Oxy One Mark 1, the Oxy One Mark 2, or the Hapax. There is also the torso, but I don't know much about that, to be honest. But I also don't think that it's nearly as robust as these other 3 guys. You can also get an Electron device. It doesn't matter the Electron device, actually. So a Digitact 2, if you want something that's also a sampler, could also be a thing. Oh, sorry. Knee is doing the thing. All right, let me make this a little bit louder. So let's get out of here. Fix up, look sharp. Woo! Sorry. Yeah, if anybody knows that old school. Let's go to project 2, and I'm going to do some setup here. So let's set sequencer 3 to shift 3A. We'll set this to USB out. Make sure that that's doing its thing. That's on poly mode. Or what we could do is, no, this might need to be in multi-mode. Yeah, I think this needs to be in multi-mode or multi-track. Uh, 3A, 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 or maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if with this it needs to be a separate channel or if it needs to be a separate note. I think that it needs to be in a separate channel. So let me make sure that this is set up in the way that it needs to be. Hello encoder. MIDI config. Channels. Okay, yeah, all of these are set to different channels on here. So what we would want to do is set this one to shit. Okay. Let's go fucking C2 offset velocity gate trigger. So that's a bit of a setup, which is kind of shitty, but I think that if we just build a thing on here, that it might not be that big of a deal. Okay. Sorry, just thinking. 1A. Track 2. 2A. Track 3. 3A. Track 4. 4A. Track 5. 5A. Track 6. 6A. Track 7. 7A. Track 8. 8A. Let's see if that works. Okay, track 1 is going to 1A right now. We're going to set this to 9A. That's still sending out. Oh, because it says all. That says TRS. What does PC mean? Port channel? Alright, so the thing that we would have to set up with this, which is going to be kind of complicated, is we need to figure out how to only send this to... Is that... Okay, yeah, that's that sound. Maybe I can set this up to be master or control global MIDI off 2 through 16, 2 through 8, 2 through 16. MPE is in this. I didn't know that. Inputs, DIN off. So, no, that's still firing. So how do I set this to a specific channel on here? Layer 1, pitch, key map, master. Because that would be the thing, to tell this to only be set up to a specific channel. But right now it's taking all the channels, I believe. Mappings, sync, MIDI clock, outputs, send CC, DIN, channel 1, channel 2. Oh, channel 15. It's still sending that out. Well, fuck. Channel 2, 15. So I guess that's B. It's still sending data. Oh, because this is layer 2. Okay. What the fuck? It's still sending data. Was there something else on here that's doing that? Because right now, this says that this is only supposed to be in USB mode. So, what the fuck? Okay. Let's set this to 1B. Let's see what that does. Okay. Okay, I think we could be in business. So this is in 1B now. And we need to set this from all ends. Same. Yeah, so this is no longer getting MIDI data. So I might have to set this up in the controller. Curious as to why I shy away from the Oxy 1 if using modular. I should have 8 CV inputs and 8 CV gates. Oh, just placement. You know, like, you'll have to connect your cables perhaps to a different place or whatever, but it's more so about me leaving room for saying I don't know much about about modular sequencers. I know that there's the other Scorp instrument that exists. What is it called? Is it the mod step or something like that? So I just don't know. I don't know about it. That's why I was like, I can't really say. Okay, so port 1 and port 2 are doing the thing. Port 2 also doing the thing. Semi-modulars and small racks of utilities. Yeah, I mean, the CV inputs of all of these are all pretty much the same. So that's important to remember. I think that actually the Hapax has dedicated, it has both TRS, it has one TRS, I think, input, one TRS output. for MIDI in. It has 2 regular MIDI outs and ins. And then it has a bunch of like CV and stuff, which I think is actually like the same ports. The same thing with the Oxy 1. The ports are pretty much the same here. So you've got MIDI in, out, or sorry, out, in. I'm sorry, you can't see that. Out, in, clock out, clock, CV clock in, pipe. No idea what that means. CV1 through 8, and then gates 1 through 8. So I think that all of these have something like that. Let me actually look. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get up. But yeah, I'll be sure to compare them all. So what I'll do is I'll probably remove this and just have them all on here and all set up. Master clock is the DAW. So everything is being sent to... Right now, this is just connected via USB-C. And then everything else is just being sent to the thing. So it's all synced up. Yeah, so on this, we can go to the master here and go pitch, legato, glide, and that will take off the polyphony of this. Now, for some reason, this is jumping an octave, which I have no idea why it's doing that, but going on?
How's the chicken dip?
That's what I was asking you a couple hours ago.
I like the chicken tendies with steamed broccoli.
Chicken and broccoli? Now you're speaking my language. We could do some rice too.
I love that. They have rice as well.
Yeah. You want to do that for dinner?
I have the Dubai chocolate. Do you want it?
Maybe later. Maybe after dinner.
You're on the stream.
Yeah.
Can they hear squeaks?
Squeak, what do you think of the state of the world? What do you think about foreign policy? She says there's not enough snacks per dog.
I pick her up and she's like right on the mic.
Not enough snacks per dog.
How much? Shake me. Whoa.
She's like fired up now. What time is it?
She made my skirt
5:30.
go up. No. Squeaks.
Squeak, you should.
Rude.
Yeah. Hey. I never said that this was a PG rated stream, but I wouldn't want to do that at the expense of my partner.
No.
So, Squeak,
Squeak.
keep it PG. 13
Do it again.
and a half.
I'm doing it. Hey, cool it. Hey.
Love you. Yeah, sorry. We're just having fun. So, yeah, I think that what I would most likely do is set up a template with this to try to figure that out because, again, I still think that we're running into issues with the, what's it called? Running into issues with getting this to separate from where this sends. But I don't necessarily know if that's this problem or where that lies. It's just, I know that that's a lot of complicated steps to kind of figure out. I will say that so far, setting this up within the Hey Packs has been an easier experience, at least with having something be in drum mode versus whatever. But that's not necessarily an Oxy problem. That's a me problem for now. But ideally, it would be cool to have like maybe a drum pattern going on within Bitwig, sending the multi-track of this out to the Digitact, and then having a completely separate sequence to this. I just think that that's a overtly cooked thing to where you might as well use the Digitact sequencer, right? Like, I feel like the MIDI tracks and all that other stuff for external sequencing would be for something that you don't have, but the workflow of, yeah, I would say like the workflow of the Digitact stuff is just a lot easier to mangle or a lot easier to work with. Does anybody have any questions about anything so far or anything of the sort that you're curious about as far as the sequencers go? I mean, I've got 4 now, so technically 5 because the Embod Me array also has a sequencer built into it, but it has like no features on it. I guess 6 because we also have stepwise. Do I have any other sequencers that are built into this? Devices. All devices. I don't want presets. Yeah, I just want devices. Just devices, please. There is also the grid, so fuck, that's a huge thing. The Zoya is off right now, but sometimes I make Neurobase with it. The first thing that we did actually was we initialized, and I had this just on the forest setting, which sounds very lovely, by the way, with the loop forest, and turn this on to green. Very pretty. Oh, that's why that's jumping, because this is going into this as well. So you can't see it right now. But we also have a microcosm that's doing that. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is it jumping an octave? And I forgot that this was also going out. So that's also in there as well. Soma? What? Try to keep that kind of clean, because this is going into the... There it is. That is the analog heat effects here. Well, there we go. I actually like this melody. It's pretty nice. Hologram. Soma does the cosmos. Well, there is also the... What is it? The mood, I think is what it's called, if I'm not mistaken. Where is the pattern layout? Arranger on, arranger off. Project 1. Save. There we go. So project 1 is saved. With that. Wait. Let's go there. Nope. What did that just do? Did that do the thing? It did the thing. It would be cool if you could customize. I don't think that, like, I don't think this will ever be a thing. But it would be cool if maybe in the app, if you could customize what immediate controls you want to have here. Because, like, I don't think that I would ever use stuff like gate or retrigger. But if I can set the division on here and change the velocity. No, I don't care about the velocity. So the octave, the root note, and everything else would be really cool. And you know what? That might actually be an update in the future, because with the Oxy 1, let me see if I can get this up here. If you look here, it says, like, this stuff is hardwired in. So tempo, velocity, octave, swing, gate, scale, all that. But on this is actually off. So I'm curious if there's a way that you could just customize what those initial controls are, right? Like, you could just swap them to something different. Because if I could do that and I could just, like, use that as the encoder workflow or something, that would actually be pretty freaking cool. So where those controls are, like, customizable. Is it me, or does it sound like there's reverb on this? Yeah? I don't know, do I? No, I don't want to see poop. Do not want to see poop. Squeaky's tummy has been upset. Or Jersey, that's her name, but Corey calls her Squeak. But her tummy has been upset for like a week now, and not really sure what's going on with her. She's got a pretty sensitive stomach, so Jersey, yeah, she's got a pretty sensitive stomach, and so we feed her like pretty rich food that I think the first 5 ingredients is real food, and then only then is, I think, like sheep meal or something like that. We give her a little bit of wet food, and we've been giving her white rice, but she just, yeah, dude, she shits like 3 times a day. It's fucking crazy. Aside from that, I don't know why I said that in a very low voice, but yeah, this is what the Zoya does. We also have some neuro-based presets on here that I set up, to which this is kind of nice because the Zoya itself, which I have a review coming out soon. I think that I want to do another review on this probably. This thing is technically a modular synth or a modular effect rack, because you can essentially have an input. Go done. And then you can have like whatever effects you want to put on this. There's also signal splitting, all that other stuff in here. And then there's, I think, up to like 64 pages. And then on that, you just send everything into the output. So it's like free routing. I think so. If like, because it scales, you know, if you just want to use it as a singular effect, I think that this has a huge range of different effects on here. So, let me see if I can just move this here to where you can see this a little bit easier. You'd hold it like this, and let's say, or let me just show you what all this stuff does. So we have audio modulars, oscillator, VCA, SV filter, multi-filter, delay line, audio panner, pitch shifter, balance, mixer, inverter, audio in switch, audio out switch, all pass filter, noise, audio multiply, bit crusher, aliaser, buffer delay, looper, granular, stereo spread, bit modulator, diffuser, and a sampler. Sampler would probably not be fun to use. We have control modules, LFO, sequencer, ADSR, sample and hold, invert, rectify, valve, trigger, CV flip, CV delay, CV loop, CV filter, slew limiter, clock divider, comparator, switch, out switch, quantizer, steps, multiplier, random, rhythm, tap to CV, CV mixer, logic gate. I will probably never use any of those. We have analysis, which is onset detector, envelope follower, pitch detector. So I think this is a transient detector. Effect modules, tone control, delay with mod, ping pong delay, reverse delay, overdrive and distortion, fuzz, compressor, gate, plate reverb, hall reverb, room reverb, ghost reverb light, phaser, chorus, vibrato, univibe, flanger, tremolo, envelope filter, ring modulator, cabinet sim. Like, that is, this does so much shit. And then it could be sequenced. You know, you can do frequency splitting on here. So if we go to the scroll and we go to the last one on here, let's go to Neuro 2. You can't tell what this is, but what I can tell you is that this is being divided between two inputs. So we have a low and a high. And on the low end, we've got a bandpass filter that's moving on its own, as you can see, to the bandpass filter. And then on the high end, we've got high pass filter. I think both of these are being modulated by, like, there's a chorus on here somewhere, wherever that is. SV filter, LFO. What is this? SV filter. Yeah, so like you have a low pass, a high pass. You can put other effects on here. You can do a 3-band frequency split. So basically, like, my goal with this was to create a multi-effect band split rack. And for the price, I don't really know of any other device that does this. Like, there are other pedals that have routing chains, but I don't know of any that have this much computing power, you know? To which I will say, like, I haven't quite dialed it in with how, like, the amounts and the fine-tuning of all that stuff. But I can say that, like, even if I just wanted to do a very regular patch, so if I scroll here to, let's say, patch 63, I go input, I go done. Wait, sorry. We go input, we go back, audio in. I know that you can't see this, but we go done. I'm gonna go audio output now. Gain control on, which will move this. So if I want to go here, we need to go done. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna hold shift move. There we go. Done. Then I can just grab like one effect on here, right? So I can go audio effect. And let's do, there was something in here that I wanted to fuck with. So we've got a flanger on here. So now we need to connect these inputs into this. I'll put LNR, and now we have a flanger. Okay, babe. Thank you. Not really sure why that's doing that. I think this is only going to one output. But it would be cool, like, if you can just hot swap this. And that's probably the most annoying thing about the Zoya, is that if you fuck something up, then you have to reroute everything. Which, well, you don't have to reroute, but you have to redo the output. So, like, let's say I wanted to delete this. Go shift and trash. See, now we've broken the output of this. And I have to go back and go here and move this over this way. And I'm going to turn, let's go done. We can edit this. So you go like this and go edit. Gain control off. Let's try, we go done. Let's grab a chorus. Done. So now on this, we set this one into the input. This one into the input. L R. That should work. Now we can mess with this. So, and that's kind of how you get stuff going. But if you use this off the bat and like you go to a fresh page, there's a little bit of a learning curve with it about how to do this. And so I probably would not get this unless if you were familiar with modular already. From, I think it would, yeah, if you are, then this is a really cool like digital mini rack that can do a lot. You just have to like know how to tell it where to go and do all that other stuff. But it's nice because it's in the midst of a cable, or it's cableless other than the inputs and outputs. And the routing options that you have are pretty substantial. But the problem that I was talking about from before, right, is we understand now that this is like if I want to change this, then you can see that the output is here. So what I'd have to do though is I'd have to pretty much get rid of the output on here and unlink them, which is kind of annoying. So I'd have to go delete, or rather delete. There is an undo button, which is nice. So I can go hold shift, undo. Sorry. There we go. We can do this, go trash, this, trash. Just go here, go, wait, what? Audio, no. Audio output, gain control off, done. L and R. And then if I wanted to add like a reverb or something, then how we have to do this is we go into this. Now we can go into the reverb. Let's go reverb light. And so now we take the output of this and we send it into this one. Just making sure that that's where it needs to go. And then we need to go to the output of the reverb and send that into here. So now that will be routed back in. What's a patch bay? That sounded like the boo 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 boo. A matrix mixer? Maybe. I still don't know how you would program it though. You know what I mean? Like it would be cool if it just had MIDI or like it just had audio through or something like that because or maybe just a change to the design of where this goes. Like I don't think that it's possible just because of the way that it's designed, but it would be nice if once you have the output there's a way to just like say, okay, well, if I delete this, then this will try to connect through to the latest output instead. But because it's modular, like I see why you have to get rid of this in order to do that. So you see how this is connected. If I delete this, shit, undo, delete this. Now I have to reconnect, right? Yeah, I'm talking about like the routing to just go through. So I had, you see how I had to reestablish the connection on there? Which is kind of annoying, but it also seems like this chorus is... Why does this feel like this is only in stereo? Channels. Why is there not... There's an option on here that says classic. But you can't change the type. Oh, here we go. 2 out. 1 in, 2 out. 2 in, 2 out. I'm trying to see if maybe I change this. Done. Oh, okay. So yeah, so that was in mono. So we had that in mono, and so now we need to switch that back into an audio output. I was weird. I was like, why isn't this working? We go done. So this is output L. We go output right. Now the chorus should work. Yeah, there we go. Well, that's the thing with this too that I've realized is I think that this thing is like 10 years old and they're still updating it, if I'm not mistaken. That's dope. You have tilt control in here. If I want to add an LFO, so we can go here, we can go to control. LFO, set this to a sine wave, go done. And then we pick the speed here. This is going to show what this is doing. And so what we can do on this is go into the mix here, kind of like so. We hold this and we map that there and then maybe slow it down. When you hold this, you'll see that there's going to be a gain on this or a percentage. So we can turn that down to where it's not the full range. So maybe we can make this like really slow and then we'll see that the mix over here is adjusting. Hold this again, and then I'm just going to set this to, oh shit, back to 100%. So Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. I think that like everything that I've purchased or that I still have right now is like the keepers. I did also try the fuck, what is it? Um I also tried the Polyan mess, to which I didn't keep it, not because it wasn't good, but because it didn't fit the needs that I was looking for. So I am going to have a review on that up at some point. I just haven't filmed it yet. I also don't have the device anymore, so it would be cool within this keyboard layout if there was a way that I could set this to, which I think that there is. I just don't remember. I need to hold this keyboard. Shift. What does the preview button do? Only in chord mode. Modify. CVN. CVN2. Oh, there's a matrix here. That's kind of cool. Oh, but that's with external mods. CV gate, assign. Flow. Groove. Groove. Yeah, so those new performance modes are pretty cool. I still would like a oh no, that is there. It's just in Groove. It's because you can set the random offset on here, which I don't really have any complaints other than that. That's pretty dope. And so you can see now within everything that I have here, sorry, I was just messing with this, that the whole outlook and the whole like explorative options on here is kind of what I was wanting to have access to. And that's why all starting with a sequencer is probably the most important thing for me, because, sorry, let me turn this off because I know that it's annoying. Having access to something that makes sound and then being able to mangle this with all of the effects and the devices and the timbre and the sends, because there's all that. One thing that I would like to, that I do wish, and this is not anyone's fault but the Connect, is that I wish that there was a stereo out from a single output. The microcosm is creating the glitches and stuff. So if I were to hit play again, hold on one sec. Let me turn this up just a little bit. When we start to introduce this, this has a bunch of different modes and delays on it. Sorry. So we can do stuff like reverb. And make that really big. Filter. Just turn the looping off on this. This has a built-in looper here. So we can record the loop. Hit stop. Now within this, we can actually go. So now we've got the loop playing. Isn't that sick? We've got some granular control over this, so I can actually slow it down. We can change the modes on here. I do have a review for the microcosm coming out soon. But yeah. I guess something that I could do as well, which I think that I have the cable for. Yeah, I do have the cable for it, but the connect is, there's something broken about the connect, and I suspect that it's a software issue. But you know what? Now that I think about it, I would need 2 TRS cables. Yeah, I could do that. So I could do a 2 TRS cable back into a single thing, but I would need... Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to think about how I'd get this into stereo. Because there's a couple of things that make this a little bit more complicated. Stereo in, dual out, which is kind of annoying. Because that means that with this, I'd have to figure out how to do like 2 out into stereo. And then I'd have to go 2 stereo 4th cables into 2 outs. But I think that it would probably be worth it, because I do think that having stereo on, sorry, especially on like reverb and all that. Whoa. Is something to consider. But even now, it's just kind of nice that I still have this, right? Because you can always put this back into stereo at some point. But yeah, this thing just sounds awesome. like, even with this, like, this is a track idea. And the other thing that I haven't really talked about yet is what happens when we start doing shit like this. Right? This is actually really cool. Sometimes this stuff is a coin toss, but time doing this, it's probably better to just design the thing myself. But sometimes it is a nice starting point. Thank you, babe. Isn't that nice? That's so cool, man. So dope. Turn the mix off on this for now. Sorry. There we go. Just want to make this a little bit louder now. I'm gonna give this a short delay. Turn sync off. This is cool because this goes all the way down to 0.23 milliseconds. I'm gonna throw a distortion on here. Wait, did I save that? I didn't. Okay, now we can break it. So now if we get into this using like bass stuff, maybe with the track we can set this to be a little bit slower. And then we can set the global gate on this to be a little bit longer. No. No. There we go. And now I would want this to be a little bit louder. The Bitwig Connect. Alright, this sounds really cool. So what would happen if we threw this through a convolution? And then a little bit of distortion. Maybe we can send this into a drive. Maybe no feedback. In the effects, let's drive this a little bit more, maybe with a tube. Sorry, was just trying stuff. That's pretty dope. Let's try a pitch shifter in this. That's crazy. I don't know how we got here, but it's pretty cool. What is that from? Oh, the delay maybe? It's off? Yeah, so this is off. Yeah. Yeah. Cool shit. I don't actually know what's doing what.